There we go, we're on air. Would you please stand for a moment of silence and the pledge? And now the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, good evening, Sharpsburg. Welcome, everyone. Tim Long, back on county property. How many years you been retired now? 4? Well, welcome back. Debbie, welcome to see you as well.
He's not retired. He's not retired.
Pardon me?
He's not retired.
Not really, is he?
He works for us, right?
All right. First, we'd like to go ahead and we called the meeting to order. And Town of Sharpsburg leaders, any reports or comments from you? The floor is yours.
First, thanks for having us here, Vice President Klein and other distinguished members. I just wanted to take a personal moment to tell you how proud the town of Sharpsburg is and how proud the Heiberger family is that I get to, as a Heiberger family member, testify in front of one. So I have not officially or publicly congratulated Randy, so I'd like to take that time now. Randy, congratulations.
Thank you, Russell.
Thank you. Would like to start off about, talk a little bit about Memorial Day 2026, and I'll ask the Vice Mayor to cover that.
All right. Okay, well, I'll kick it off here. Thanks for having us again. It's good to see you all. It's a pleasure to be here. Just want to talk a little bit about Memorial Day to let you all know what's going on. For a little background, if you guys didn't know already, and I'm sure you would if you spent any time around me, Sharpsburg holds the title of the longest continuously held Memorial Day parade in the country. It's been going on every year since the dedication of the National Cemetery at Antietam on the 5-year anniversary in 1867. So we are the longest continuously held parade in the country right now. At its peak, it attracted 15 to 20,000 visitors to the Sharpsburg area. At the time, the town had about 1,000 residents, so that's quite an increase. Yeah. It's one of our defining events, and it's something that we are very proud to uphold and be a part of. Next year, our event will be held on May 23rd. 11 o'clock in the morning will be the wreath-laying ceremony, and the parade starts at 2 p.m. And the theme of the event will be entitled in line with all the commemorations that are going on next year. It will be entitled America's 250, honoring the sacrifices that birthed the nation. And that'll recognize the significant milestone we have going on next year.
Very good.
I just have a couple of simple requests as they relate to the parade. First and foremost, I would like to encourage you guys to attend next year's parade, all of you. I know that I've seen most of you there, and usually do. But you're always welcome.
May I interrupt? Sure. The ceremony in the square is the best.
I think so too.
Yeah, so I'd urge everybody to be there for the wreath laying, and yes.
Yeah, please do. We take this tradition very seriously, and we do our best to honor it and do the best we can. But you guys are always welcome. But I think it's a good aesthetic for you guys to be there, and it's a great way to underscore the great relationship that we have with the county. And when I was a reenactor, we always had these events throughout the year we called max effort events, where if you could only make it 2 or 3 events a year, we wanted you to go to these, and we wanted to generate mass participation at these events. So we'd like you to consider the parade next year to be your max effort event.
We do have a float that our PR department has been working on for the last couple of months for 250th anniversary, and we would love to enter it into your parade next year.
Excellent. I would love to have it in the parade next year.
Thank you.
We might also want to get some more coins to pass out on Memorial Day.
Okay.
Yes. So I don't know how far in advance you have to plan for that, but we probably would like to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll let our PR department know. She's.
I just wanted to, I just gave the coins that we have, and you'll be able to give those out to the
at your events or anything that you're holding, there's approximately 1,500 coins that are in the bags that I just gave you.
No, that might
Oh,
be
good.
enough.
You'll be able to use those at your events, but this is, these coin sets will be for sale at some point here very soon. And then also, the hope is that we get people to go around to the different events throughout the community, throughout the county, to collect the entire set. And then we will have the capstone coin along with the boxes at the main event on July 4th, 2026. Sorry.
Perfect. Thank you,
That's
Danielle.
right, thank you, Danielle.
Well, suffice it to say, Memorial Day weekend, Sharpsburg's the place to be. And hopefully 1,500 coins will be enough, because I think it'll cover maybe about half the people that we have there during the weekend.
So you want more coins?
Might need them. We usually get about 2,500 to 3,000 visitors at the parade, as you guys have seen. And I'm hoping next year will be an even bigger event.
And we have a Christmas event as well, so we, probably, Randy, we will need some more.
That being said, having said that, my next request is, we'd like to have the county support this year with, in promoting the event as the premier Memorial Day event in the county. Perhaps like both, on the website and in publications and things like that. And in terms of both not only visitors, but participation as well. Again, going back to that max effort concept, I'd like to generate as much participation as possible this year and make it a really grand event.
As part of the 250th celebration, we are incorporating all of the events that we're aware of from each of the towns onto a sort of a main calendar that's on our 250th website. So we'll definitely add this on there, and then if you have any marketing material or posts that you've made, please let us know, and we'll be happy to share them on our page as well.
So beginning in February, I usually put out the RSVP slip that people can fill out. And
Okay.
that's really what I would like some help with this
Sure.
year. I'd really like to make a big event this year. That's pretty much all I have as far as Memorial Day is concerned.
Okay, do you all have a briefing sheet in front of you that I just sent up? A couple of pictures in it just to help orient things. The second item is water and sewer. We wouldn't have a meeting with the county commissioners if we didn't talk about water and sewer. First of all, again, complimenting Mark's guys. They're working really hard right now, replacing the meters. Seems to be going fine, and we don't have any complaints from a serviceability standpoint. Again, like I said, last year, one of the grinder pumps fails or Johnny on the spot. We do have three minor issues. On Chaplin Street, there's a culvert that needed to be cleaned out and repaired, and we did that. However, and that's the first picture there on the left, is the top of the culvert. The property owner contacted us, and I spent some time with him. The picture in the middle is their sidewalk right by the culvert, and it's collapsing. And we worked with Frederick Cyber just recently. I don't mean to blindside you guys tonight, but this is in the last several weeks. They came in and they believed that it was the water behind the culvert, not in the culvert, but running down the side of it, causing sinkholes. And one of the things that happened was, you'll see in the lower left picture, in that first picture, there's a sewer pothole, not pothole, but a manhole there. And when it was put in, there was asphalt around it, but apparently it broke and crumbled and the water was seeping down in it. So the point is, we'd like a little help with getting that repaired. There's going to be a fairly expensive piece of concrete work that's going to have to get done. And we believe it's kind of joint county, town. We've already repaired the culvert. We've cleared 18 inches to 24 inches of silt out of the culvert so the water flows better and those kind of things. But we do have to do some repairs around it. So we'll be in touch and asking you to help support. We've actually, because of the nature of the problem, we've actually already asphalted around that manhole and routed the water so it drains better. But we're going to have to do a significant amount of concrete work both on the walk, and then there's a retaining wall just downstream from that. The other thing is and I think I got this question answered midweek, but I'd like for maybe Mark to justify or confirm this. that picture on the right is actually in front of my house, but we have a number of the meters that are sunken. We have sinkholes around them, just from the water, going down around them. It's my understanding that that will be leveled and fixed as part of this manhole water meter replacement project. So I'd like to get that confirmed. I apologize for bringing it here. It's kind of a minor issue, but we've had a lot going on lately. And the last thing is really the big thing, and we sent you a letter on that. We have done some research, and the internet is the internet, but most of what we can find is when you put new meters in, the water bills go up because they're more accurate in terms of measurements. We're assuming if there's a significant increase in that, then there will be a rate adjustment to keep the constant yield close so that people aren't hit with a giant water bill after the new meters are in place. So I don't know where the county stands on that. You got a letter. We still are interested in making sure there's not a gigantic bump in the water bills. The last one is one of passion. You'll see a picture there of happy hour today, 5 to 8. We have a farm on the edge of town called Green Hill Farm. Historically, it's known as the Adam Michael Farm. I did include, I think somewhere towards the back, maybe the next to last sheet, there is a map of the Adam Michael Farm. This isn't just any farm, okay? This is a farm, what was a hospital during the battle. There were Civil War soldiers buried on it. Green Hill itself was an artillery location during the war. And years ago, in 1994, Nick Frobach sold the easements on that farm to Maryland Environmental Trust, okay? And if you read through this, I'm not going to read that whole thing. It comes off the internet, but I have a basic fundamental question is, what is agricultural about happy hour, food trucks, alcoholic beverages, dancing, music, and what have you. What I'd like to say is if you go to the next page and you see a picture of the Dunkard Church with a hotel next to it, that's an 1889 picture, never came to fruition, thank God. Actually, I ran into somebody who said that their great-grandfather lost money investing in this, so I guess it was, a real project. They raised the money, but it never came to fruition. The people in Sharpsburg view the battlefield passionately, okay? We believe that we were kind of chosen by, history and destiny to be stewards and to keep watch on the battlefield, and that's exactly what we do. And so we got blindsided a little bit by this Green Hill Farms thing, and so we started to take a look at it, and I included the dashboard next to that picture because we got from there to here, where we are today, and that 43,000 acres, a large part of it is around the battlefield. That was very painful. That didn't just happen. There were a lot of people who sacrificed a lot of political capital, personal investments, people like Nancy Kefauver from the Kefauver Farm, people like Ann Corcoran and those kinds of people. And we formed a thing called SHARP, and there's a Department of Interior letter back there. And I only included that because that little square back there says it all. It says SHARP members, Ann Corcoran and Joanne Frobach, who happens to be the mother of Aaron Frobach Mosier, who's the owner of Green Hill Farm. Obtained this map through the Freedom of Information Act, and the memo clearly identifies a Sharpsburg bypass. Do you all remember Sharpsburg bypass? Anybody around at that time? Well, there was a Sharpsburg bypass, and there were 2 horses to ride in this game, okay? One was the National Park Service in Shaft, and the idea was buy up as much land as you could and put it in a park, and through zoning, control everything that is surrounded that, and hotels, motels, golf courses, whatever, were okay as long as they were built consistent with the area. And there was a large planning activity that took place with the state of Maryland, and there was a whole set of things that happened. Aerial photographs, farmers going wild saying, why is my ground being photographed? A guy named Austin Fluke, I don't know if any of you guys know him or not, calls me at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday asking me why he had survey stakes all over his property. You know, Randy knows it. Jeff, you probably know Austin very well, and he wasn't going to take no for an answer. So before long, he was on my porch, and I was driving down to look at these stakes. And the National Park Service out of Harpers Ferry inventoried all those farms and then denied they did it. And they put a plan together to actually tear up Miller Kefauver's road that he used to access his farm and return it to the 1860 style things. But the two horses, one was National Park Service and SHAV, and the other was property owners and something called SHARP, Safe Historic Antietam with Responsible Policies. We won, okay? I was president of that organization for a while. These MET easements were purchased using something called ICE-T money. Comes from the federal government. It's money that if the government builds a federal highway through your property, you get access to this money, and a lot of these easements were built accordingly. The reason I bring all that up is because Nick Frobach in 1994 sold his easements, and I'll just wrap this up with a couple of comments from MET itself, not from MET, but from the easements, and one thing from MET. This one's in your packet, but I'll just go over it with you, that the committee, there's something called the Land Management Committee or something like that, and this guy Chapman presented it, and the consensus of the committee to pay specific attention to the mini cabins, M-I-N-I, mini cabin, small cabins that people could stay in, okay, to ensure they remain non-residential. Mr. Darcy moved to approve the request, including the staff's condition as written in the memo for the consent, okay? The committee unanimously recommended approval of this, and so on and so forth. Now, I couldn't believe that I invested my whole younger years, 10 years of it, and this could be that easy, okay? So I worked with Tim, thank you, Tim, and I was able to find the easement number, he was able to find the text. I'll send you this text, I didn't have time to get it to you, I just got it today, but I will read some of the restrictions on it. Industrial or commercial activities, this is under the restricted part of it, other than farming, silviculture, which I didn't know what silviculture is, it's raising trees, and horticulture are prohibited on the property except for such activities as can be conducted in existing structures without alteration of the external appearance thereof, and the sale of the public and the sale to the public of agriculture or forestry products produced on the property. So the easement pretty much says, you know, I don't see anything about happy hour, okay? The other restriction is the total number of residential structures, and this is the one that kind of grinds me. The total number of residential structures, including, for example, but not limited to, principal residences, guest houses, tenant houses, farm manager houses, condominiums, apartment, mobile homes, and seasonal cabins are all prohibited on the property, and the number of residential structures on the property shall never exceed 1. Now, when I read the minutes of the state agency deciding, you know, what can and cannot be done on the property, the first thing comes to your mind, did they even read the easement? The easement's clear. The easement, in my opinion, is clear that, you know, it's not allowed. Now, rather than just a bitch section, and I understand what you're thinking, this is not a county problem, okay? This is an MET problem, but in a sense it is a county problem. Because, did you guys know in 2022 they were having a hearing on Green Hill Farms as to whether or not they could put in cabins? Did the planning, zoning people know? I don't think so. We didn't know. So, first of all, I'm here to ask you, we have to tighten this process. We have to tighten this process down. It's not acceptable that some elected bureaucrat sitting somewhere down the road can be lobbied by an individual in our county and make a drastic change like this. And you might say, well, what's the problem? It's a couple little houses on a little farm right outside of Sharpsburg. You could look at it that way, but it's also a precedent, right? And I would ask you just to take a look at the map. The conservation around Sharpsburg, by and large, is Maryland Environmental Trust easements just like this, okay? And what happens if now the Prices, or whoever buys the Kefauver farm, okay, and any of the other myriad farms that are in the area, what happens if they decide they want to do something similar? So this, to me, this is a serious problem. This is kind of a punch in the gut to all that work that all those people did in the late 80s and 90s to get these easements in place. And the idea was to preserve the watershed. So I'm asking the county, I don't know who, I was just told on the phone on the way in here, because it's been working this really recently, is that our only recourse is to sue. That's what I've been told. And I hate to go that route. We're not rich, we're not deep pockets, but if we have to, I guess we'll have to, because this is such a blatant violation of an easement. My message to you is, if this stands, and this is the way we do it, you don't have any easements. Environmental trust easements in southern Washington County don't exist, because all you have to do is go to this land management committee, present your case, and have them give you a workaround, okay? And I don't think it's the way to run a ship. So I'd like to see us tighten up the process. I would like to see us, your county, I forget the gentleman's name, Tim, but your county ag people were very helpful. They gave us the easement. I'm willing to pay for it. I'd like to get a copy of all the easements. I want them all at my fingertips. And I'm too old to mount the pressure we used to mount, but I hope somebody takes the charge. And I really hope it doesn't wind up in court, but it could. I mean, if that's the only way to get this settled, this is wrong. I can't tell you any other way. It's just simply wrong. So with that, we'll entertain questions.
Okay, I'll go back to a couple of the items that you mentioned earlier. I do have information from Mark Bradshaw, who is also here in case you have additional questions beyond what I have. The water meters that have kind of sunk into the sidewalk.
Right.
As part of the replacement process that we're working on, the contract that we have. Those water meters that have sunk into the sidewalk, they'll be raised to the proper elevation, and any damage to the sidewalk as a result of that process, that will be repaired.
Good.
The specs do require that the contractor should remove the concrete to the nearest joint and replace it with new concrete. Now, for brick sidewalks, the contractor will salvage as many of the bricks as they can, and then replace the meter in the vault when they reinstall the bricks. We'll do our best to address any of the issues. Now, we can't replace entire sidewalks that aren't a part of the replacement project, but we'll do our best to make sure that it's looking as nice as we can. As far as the bills related to replacement of the water meters and the sewer bills, I can't guarantee that a customer's bill won't go up or down as a result of replacing the water meter. Unfortunately, we are required to bill all customers for all water and sewer that they actually use, and that's something that we do standard across the county, and unfortunately, I can't make any exceptions to that. Mark has some questions.
I'd like to add one thing. We're not actually replacing the water meters, we're replacing all the components like the yoke, the angle check, shut-off valve, and the vaults. The actual meter, we're going to pull it out, put all the new components in, and set the old meter right back into the new parts. So the meters that are there will still remain after the project is completed. They have like a 15-year life cycle, and I think we replaced all them meters about 7 years ago. So we probably won't be coming back around for another 7 to 8 years before we replace the meters again.
Okay. So the meters are not being replaced in the
No,
vault?
it's all the
Will
other.
this fix the freezing problem?
I'm sorry?
Will this fix some of the freezing problem? Are
It
these
may.
insulated vaults?
Some of the vaults are poor quality. They kind of have holes in the side. Some of them are old fiberglass that's deteriorated. We're actually putting in the high-density polyethylene vaults, which will provide some protection from the elements, yes.
Okay. Thanks. That's good. That's a fine answer. And I didn't expect you in midstream to adjust your rates, but when we go through the planning process and set the rates the next time, if they're higher, I think it's a conversation we should have.
And Jill Baker, who is our Director of Planning and Zoning, she may have some additional information related to Green Hill Farms, but from the county's perspective, they're in compliance with what they're zoned to do at this point, and without any additional information related to violations, I believe that at this point, there's nothing that we can do.
Can I just ask a question before Jill addresses this? Maybe Jill will address my question, but how do easements that exist get visibility when you're going through a planning or zoning process, site planning or anything? Who is responsible for elevating visibility of existing easement or restrictions on uses of the property that may have been passed on from original owners or something?
So the county does maintain a mapping GIS layer of all of the easements that we find over the years. That includes the MET easements that were referred to by the mayor, and we have those. I think we have the records on those somewhere. We'll have to dig through our repository and see what exactly is in there. But we are the ones that when new development comes through, we use those mapping tools to determine whether or not there are easements on the property. At that point in time, whatever the development that is proposed, we send to that agent who holds that easement. In this particular case for Green Hill Farm, we did send copies of the plans to the Maryland Environmental Trust. We let them know what was going on, and they did not see fit to find it to be against their easement. That's all I know. I don't.
Did they say there was nothing, or did you not get a response, or?
They just did an inspection on that property in 2024, and the inspection came back clean.
From the Maryland Environmental Trust.
Correct. I'll see if I can find that.
Okay. I don't think, Jill, this is your problem. I didn't mean it to be that way, but I don't know where to go to get plugged into the process.
I mean, I do believe that it is our problem, and I think this is what Commissioner Harvey was alluding to, is to maintain the integrity so that if we know something, we say something. I think that, in my opinion, is one of the basic tenets of our plan review process. We research it, we find out everything that we can about what's going on to the property, and we address it as best we can. And that's one of the things we try to address. We do keep, like I said, an active layer of easements and protective deed restrictions and all that kind of stuff in that system so that when we review plans, it kicks up and we make sure we send it to the appropriate agency.
Yeah, you're familiar with the small living quarters that she was trying to put in, right? Six or
Yes.
seven of them, right?
Yes.
She went to this committee at MET and asked for those permission to do that, and she was granted unanimously by this group. And then when I finally got my hands on the easement says no. I will say, I'd like for you to read it. I'd like anybody to read it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'll apologize. But I read it, and it said you can't do this. It just clear as bell. It says this is not permitted on this property. Now, what bothers me is we paid money in 1994, fairly good amount of money, okay? Today it's worth a lot more, of course, for these easements. But my opinion is, and if we go to the court over this, we're going to try to force the state to take the money back. Either this is not an I gotcha game. These easements were put in place on some very significant pieces of ground. The real farm, REEL, is a very significant farm because Confederate troops moved from about where the train station is to the battlefield across there, and then they retreated there, and then that place was a hospital, and they were buried there. It's not a farm, no offense to Clear Spring. I love Clear Spring, I taught there. But it's not a farm in Clear Spring, okay? And a lot of people in town find it offensive.
Well, what
to
will,
see signs on our town square saying, happy hour from 5 to 9, just turn here at this corner. Okay?
we'll have Jill get you the information that she has received from MET showing where they have approved it. And I think that,
I would enjoy a meeting with MET. I really would.
I understand.
I don't know, I don't even know people at MET to talk to.
All right, can we help with that?
Yeah, I think I have a contact person.
Yes, we'll get you contact
If
information.
not, I'll get our Rural Preservation Administrator, Chris Boggs. He has some contacts in the state. We'll figure something out.
Good, thank you.
Tim had a comment over here.
Jill, I talked to, I forget the gentleman's name, at MET today, and then also got, thanks to Chris for getting me a copy of the easement really quickly, like overnight. So, the question I have is if you remember, the last time the commissioners were in Sharpsburg, it was down at Town Hall. And Green Hill Farm subject came up because I was getting complaints, council people were getting complaints. And we discussed it, and at that time, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure about this, you had indicated that you had issued a cease and desist order and that they would not be allowed to continue with their operation until they filed for a rural business overlay zoning. And I believe Zach chimed in there also because we were discussing about notification, if there was any meetings and that sort of thing. What has happened between now and then that Green Hill is no longer, required to get the rural business overlay?
So I'll answer that in two parts. The first part deals with the special event center. I think it's important to differentiate the fact that the county does not recognize that special event center as agritourism. That is not what they have their permits under. Their permit is for a banquet reception facility that was granted by the Board of Zoning Appeals. Now, you're quite familiar with this. You were in the thick of it when it all went down. Okay. Basically, that we were getting inundated with all of these banquet reception facilities, and then the health department would come back and say, no, wait a minute, if you're gonna have people out here, you have to have a permanent bathroom space in order to operate. And many of these facilities were only using portable facilities. And the health department at that time, slash MDE, I should say, did not recognize that. So at that point in time, that's when there was, I'm gonna call it a verbal agreement between the health department and, I guess it was Rich Eichelberger at the time, that as far as permitting goes, that the special event centers could have the portable toilets, but they would be limited to a certain number of events per year. So what has now happened, the state passed a law in 2025 that says that things that are defined, or food services, I should say, that are defined as agritourism by the state law would no longer have to have permanent facilities, that they could use private portable toilets. So that kind of puts us in a bind because really the only thing we were holding the number of events we limited because there was no septic system. Now that that has been circumvented through this state law and the health department will no longer require them to have a septic system, they only need to have portable toilets, there's nothing for the county in any of the approvals that we have to limit the number of events. So the special events is permitted through a special exception use, and they did have the site plan approved. And they are in compliance with that now that the state law has changed and the health department no longer puts restrictions on the septic systems. The second part of that has to do with the cabins that we were discussing. And that was the main focus, is that campgrounds, which is what we would define these cabins to be, are not permitted in the zoning district where they are located. So a cease and desist order was sent out to the property saying you can't do this. It's considered a campground. The only way to become a campground or to have a campground and to be permitted would be to rezone it to a rural business district. They thereby came in and met with us and said, okay, we concede we're not going to rent those out anymore. They took all of their advertising down, and we have no evidence to support the fact that they were renting those facilities out. So we couldn't, because there was no active business happening, there was nothing for us to continue to enforce. So that's why the rural business never happened. Because they complied with our cease and desist order and stopped renting those facilities out.
So the cease and desist order was just related to the cabin aspect of the business, not the event center and all the other things they're doing there?
At the time, it was also related to the event center because they were having more events than they were permitted to have under that verbal agreement. But now, again, since these laws changed, that's kind of gone away.
Just two kind of questions. Here's where I get confused, okay? So somebody wants to have events and wants to do something in the county, right? Do they come and zoning applies, okay? But where does the easement fit in? Because the easement clearly says that commercial activities, other than farming and all that stuff, okay, has to be conducted in existing structures without alteration of the external appearance. Now, you know and I know, Green Hill Farms, they advertise. If you read their advertisement that I gave you, they advertise, come spread your blankets out on the grass and come listen to the music. Just so happens that all the neighbors who live on Chaplain Street get the pleasure of listening to the music too. It doesn't stop at 8, 9, 10 o'clock, same way along the pike. We all know they're in violation. So my question is kind of dovetails on Derek's. When does the easement come into effect? Because the easement says the total number of residential structures, including seasonal cabins, okay, shall never exceed 1. Okay, when does that get applied?
That has to be applied by the entity that they have contracted with. The county has no legal interest in the contract, the private contract that has happened between the property owner and MET. So we have no way to enforce the covenants or restrictions that were placed on there by the easement. The only one that can do that is MET.
Okay, but Jill,
You
Russ,
just validated
Russ, this looks like we're gonna have to probably get more information to you, like it's been suggested,
Right.
take care, because we're not gonna get an answer here today. Jill, thank you for
We'll
all
get
the
you that information.
Okay,
Could I
is
just-
there something else you all want to continue with?
No, it's just clear, Jeff, that
Yeah, we
have to
get you,
see.
well, we can sit here and discuss and debate, but you're not going to get a clear answer here tonight. So I think you need to get that information and all that contact, and Tim's already got some numbers, so that's where I think we need to move forward on that, all right? Anything else? Okay. All right, well, as we continue with our agenda, commissioners, comments. Mr. Harvey, Commissioner Harvey? We'll start
I
with you.
thank you very much for the hard work you're doing to keep your community productive, interesting, safe, okay, and a great place to visit. And, look forward to participating in parades and things in the future. It's admirable the work you do to make, your community is a shining light for our county. just on the issues today, one thing I'd like to have clarified is, I think there is a public county interest in making sure that easements that are invested in by our communities and by our citizens and others, however with MDE, we have an interest that I think in many cases that those easements protect the historical nature of what we have in the Antietam battlefield area. And if we need to understand how we protect the heritage and the character if someone else is not going to be vigorously defending that heritage. So I think that's important.
Great, thank you. Is that all? Well, Commissioner Leatherman of Sharpsburg ancestry, please add your comments. And by the way, you're going to have to make him an honorary mayor too as well now. You're going to have to make him an honorary mayor. And he'll be number two, right?
Interesting that you would say that, Jeff, because here we are 50 years later. 1970, my father was the mayor of Sharpsburg, and we were installing the water system. And oh, the headaches. Our porch was always an assembly of local town residents who were not pleased that they were receiving water. And so I got to hear many conversations. But here we are 50 years later. So thank you for coming. Great seeing you. One quick question. The farm in question, Ivy Hill Farm, that is the Nancy Reel farm, I see.
I think it's a Nancy Reel Adams farm.
Okay,
It's in that map, it's the lower
Yes.
left corner.
yes, okay, all right.
If you're familiar
So
with
it was-
the Reel family, they split it into 4
Yes.
pieces.
Yes, okay. And one more question. The park that you've developed on Main Street at 34 and 65, how's that progressing? It looks good.
It's progressing. The major work is done.
Okay,
The wall and the bricks and all that. I underestimated how much time it gets to have signs made and placards. Contracted for the placards, I thought it was a couple-month thing, and it's 6 to 8 months. And so our target is spring to be completely finished. We'll have a lighted flag there shortly. We have benches there. We'll have a temporary sign there pretty soon. And then the interpretive piece of it, hopefully later this fall.
very good. Looks great. Very nice. Thank you for coming. Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Wagner?
Well, thank you. A lot of good points, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Parade Master. A lot of good memories at that parade. Remember some hot ones. Yeah. Remember the hot ones, don't you?
Yes, sir.
But, no, you made a lot of good points, and their staff will check on, but I'm sort of like Commissioner Klein. I think MET seems to be holding the answers, don't they?
They do.
Yeah, and once you can get with them and figure out what they have to say, then maybe you'll be a little bit more enlightened on what really is going on. But with that being said, I'm just glad that, you guys run a very nice town. And I enjoy it when I get down there. I was actually down at Bender's not long ago. I wasn't just grabbed a from Shepherd to Bender's. But with that being said, I also raised my family in a Sharpsburg address. Now, I'm sort of a transit because it was Taylor's Landing Road, but still Sharpsburg address.
Close enough.
Yeah, so that's all. Thank you all for coming.
Honorary mayor to select.
And we always know where to find Jeff. It's the latest pancake dinner.
Or Nutters, sitting out front.
The ice cream trail.
Commissioner Wagner, anything else?
That's all. Thank you.
What number year is this parade? What year are you in again?
What number is this?
Okay,
Well, from 1867, right?
well, my dad and I always enjoyed the parade. There were some days that were really hot. And the one year he was going to be one of the grand marshals, COVID struck. And then he passed the following year. But we have good memories and photos from that parade. So thank you for keeping the stewardship and that tradition of America alive in a little small town called Sharpsburg. So thank you very much. That concludes my report. With that, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all very much.